Dave Gagne. I am the town administrator here for the town of West Bridgewater, and I'm going to bring to you a preview for the upcoming Board of Selectmen meeting, which is scheduled for April 15th, 2020. So first on the agenda, minutes, meaning that they will accept and review. And then after that, in the month of April of every single year, the Board of Selectmen always have to renew their antique licenses or secondhand shop licenses. So that will be on the agenda for their review and vote. Because of what's going on with the coronavirus, we recognize at a local level that a lot of people have either lost their jobs, lost their incomes, or if they're working, they may be making less money than they were before. May 1st is quickly approaching, and tax bills are still due because that is the only way that the municipality can make sure that when you call 911, the police and fire can respond, roads can still be cleaned, and services through the Council on Aging and the Meals on Wheels continues. So the tax bill is still due on May 1st. However, we have received some relief from the state legislature. On Friday, the governor signed a new bill which will allow our Board of Selectmen an option to be able to waive interest, penalties, and fees until June 29th if someone needs some extended period of time to be able to pay their bills. I have consulted with Scott Golder, our treasurer, and he concurs with me that this is the right thing to do. So as a result, I am asking the Board of Selectmen at the meeting that we will still accept payments on May 1st, which is customary. However, if you cannot make your payment on time, that for this time between May 1st and June 29th, that there will be no outstanding interest, payment, or other fees that would be due to the town. We know this is a difficult time for everyone. Because we're still under an executive order through the governor that more than 10 people cannot meet, there is no way that our town meeting, originally scheduled for May 18th, can continue as originally planned. We still have to have a town meeting because through the town meeting process that we set budgets for the upcoming fiscal year, and we also vote on any bylaws that the town wants to pass, whether they're general bylaws or zoning bylaws. So at this point, I'm going to ask the Board of Selectmen to reset the date for the latest date possible originally allowed by law, which would be June 29th. It's a Monday night. All town meetings in the state of Massachusetts must be held before June 30th. There is a new provision in state law that will allow us to be able to continue it for 30 days beyond that if the pandemic continues and we are still under the orders of the governor where we cannot have General Assembly discussions. So as a result, I will ask the board to take that vote on June 29th. Hopefully we will all be back to some semblance of normal by then, and hopefully we'll be able to have our meeting then. But it's very clear that we're not going to be able to have it on May 18th. At that town meeting, one of the items that we will be addressing is to whether or not the town will support the town purchasing a property on Lincoln Street, about 15.5 acres, in order for the town to eventually put a sports complex on that property. I've been here for 7 years, and I have said from the very beginning that one of my top priorities is that we have to make sure that we have enough athletic fields for our town residents. As more and more families move into town, especially with children, this is a growing need. And we all know the positive benefits the municipalities have, families have, residents have, the community as a whole have, when kids can be able to get together and participate in youth sports. So as a result, that will be at our town meeting whenever we have it, hopefully at the end of June at this point. But one of the legal provisions that we have to do is we have to vote at the local level, at the Board of Selectmen level, that this property is unique, that there's a purpose and a reason why we're choosing to purchase this property. And so they will take that vote after consulting with town legal counsel on the language. Although it's been difficult to imagine, there is still a lot of other business that is going on that is unrelated to the COVID-19 pandemic. And one of them is that a handful of months ago, the Board of Selectmen in mid-February listened to a presentation for a 40B apartment complex on Route 106 adjacent to Honeydew Donuts. That is still winding its way through the state administrative process. And as a result, the town of West Bridgewater has an opportunity to be able to provide comments to Mass Housing. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I provide those comments this past week to Mass Housing, along with comments from many of our local department heads as well. So all of that information will be before the board for their review and knowledge. Our annual town election, which would have happened this past weekend on April 11th, has now been postponed to June 27th. At that time, hopefully we'll be out of the pandemic, but that doesn't mean, no matter what, that people still couldn't potentially get sick. Let's face it, it's a virus. Hopefully by then we will have testing in place. We will have our health resources in place in case people do get sick. But the virus isn't going away over the next month. And as a result, there are some people that may still be fearful of going to the polls to vote. So the town clerk is going to join us or ask me to inform the Board of Selectmen, but really to inform all of you as residents that we're going to ask all of you to be able to do what you can to vote by mail. This will keep you safe, and this will keep our election workers safe, but still provide you the opportunity in the democratic process to vote for who it is that you want for your locally elected leaders. So I've placed it on the agenda for the Board of Selectmen to know as well, and for all of you to be able to hear and hopefully understand how to take advantage of that process. At the very end, I will then have a frank conversation with the Selectmen as to where we stand now as a town in reference to our response to COVID-19. I have to tell you, the residents here have been fantastic. And our department heads and our staff have been exemplary. Every single day, our DPW, police, and fire continue to report to work to do all the work that is necessary to keep everybody in town safe and to keep our roads maintained and clear for travel. Think about it. We just had a pretty windy storm that came through town. More than a handful of trees have come down and limbs have come down. And our DPW department was out there working all day to make sure that those roads were clear and safe for people to be able to drive through town. They all should be commended. And I want to make sure the Board of Selectmen is aware of all the work that they are doing. Our Council on Aging continues to deliver 30 to 40 meals a day on its Meals on Wheels program. And some town staff, like myself, continue to report to work every single day to make sure that the daily operations of the town continue. So we'll make sure that the Board of Selectmen is fully aware of that. The reality is that everything that we do costs money. And at a local level, we count on, for example, many of our fine restaurants generating meals tax that help to fund our operations, which helps to defray the amount that we have to ask all of you as taxpayers, property tax. Obviously, we're not collecting any of that revenue over the past 4 weeks. And most likely for at least another month, if not longer, we won't receive that revenue as well. At a state level, the state of Massachusetts is expecting that they're potentially going to be negatively impacted by $2 to $3 billion of lost revenue over the last 15 months. Some of that revenue trickles down to municipalities, including the town of West Bridgewater. And the town of West Bridgewater net receives about $6 million from the state of Massachusetts in state aid. If the state were to see a $3 billion shortfall, that represents about 15% of their budget. So it's $6 million. That translation means that we could easily see $900,000 cut from what we originally expected to receive in local aid. You add that to lost revenue at the local level, such as meals tax, as I mentioned earlier. But obviously, we receive permitting fees when somebody pulls a permit to build something at their house, when new construction happens, when there's citations issued for whatever reason, moving violations, for example. All of that is lost revenue at this point. So as a result, we have to probably relook at our current year, and next year. I'm not ready to make any decisions. However, I do want to have that conversation with the board just to give them advanced warning and notice that over the next 2 weeks, I'll be looking closer at this issue, especially as the state legislature is currently debating these very topics. In fairness to them and to the governor, nobody really knows what the real impacts are yet. We just know that they're negative, which obviously will have a trickle-down effect to us. So we just want to make sure that the people as a whole know that we're doing the best that we can, because I honestly believe that this is a fantastic town that has delivered first-rate services for a very lengthy period of time. And we are committed to continue to. However, we still have to find the resources to be able to do it. And so we're going to be struggling, but working through that issue. So I'll bring that to the board's attention, and then we will make some decisions going forward. I will tell you that I have absolutely no desire to see layoffs happen in town. I'm hoping that we can do that only as a last resort. So we'll just have to get creative in a couple of other ways. And again, we just have to really wait to see exactly what the federal and/or state level will do in reference to what we will receive at a local level. So with that said, that will be our meeting. Again, I want to say thank you to all of you as residents. I know this is a trying time. People are anxious, they're frustrated, probably scared. We don't know what's around the corner. Better weather is coming. Most of us want to go outside and enjoy the outside. And yet we know that those sporting events aren't going to be allowed. Children are probably getting cabin fever. And so as a result, the Board of Selectmen certainly understands, and I understand how difficult it is on all of you. But again, we want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of our employees who continue to work every day and do a fantastic job. And again, we will discuss all of that tomorrow night at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. Normally, these meetings are open to the public, meaning that you could come and attend, and if called upon, also address the board. However, again, under the governor's executive order, these meetings are currently closed to the public. So we are doing our best to make sure that they are captured live on Chapter 9 through our local cable access channel. I want to say thank you to Ben Smith, the general manager of that facility, along with his staff, as they continue to work to make sure that we remain as transparent as possible, bringing all of our meetings to you. So even though you can't be here, you still know that we are working, and most importantly, working on your behalf. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.